Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here. Over the last few years, Vermonters have felt the impacts of inflation and higher costs in many areas, making it harder for those looking to retire and for families and workers to make ends meet, which includes paying their property taxes. So at the start of the session, one of the areas I asked the legislature to focus on was affordability. I put forward some ideas to help ease the tax burden so Vermonters aren't forced to make tough decisions about which bills they pay and which ones they don't, like their electric bill, their fuel bill, or their car payment, because they can't do all three in a single month. Or worse yet, consider moving out of state to a more affordable place. Because when I'm out talking to people, that's what they're concerned about, how expensive it is to live in Vermont. My affordability plan included tax breaks for workers, families, and seniors by expanding the eligibility for the child tax credit and earned income tax credit, and increasing the Social Security income exemption by another $5,000. It also included fully exempting military retirement pay. And although we didn't get as much as I would have we did make significant gains. S51 fully exempts income up to $125,000 and tapers off for those receiving more. The bill also includes a refundable tax credit for retirees earning up to $30,000. Since I was elected governor, I've asked the legislature to eliminate the income tax for retiring military members, because with an aging demographic and declining workforce, it'll help attract more working age people and families to Vermont. And it makes a lot of sense because it's difficult to compete with other states who are much more generous with tax incentives. This exemption isn't just about tax breaks. And as you can see by who's here today, it's not a partisan issue. It's an important recruitment tool because many in the military retire at a relatively young age and have an entire civilian career ahead of them. They're highly skilled for their military experience, which we need to fill jobs here in the state. To all the members of our military, past and present, who are here today and are listening today, thank you for your service to our country. We live in freedom because of you, and it's important we remember the contributions you've made to protect that. I'll now turn it over to Senator Collmore.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by saying I am not a veteran, but I think it's important that folks know that there are many non-veterans who fully support what S51 does. I am the son of two World War II veterans. My dad was in the Army and the Medical Corps and drove an ambulance at the front in North Africa. My mom was one of the first Marines ever commissioned in North Holyoke, Massachusetts in 1943. She was a sergeant, and when we acted up, I have two brothers, we never heard one thing in our home: wait till your father gets home, because my mom took care of that well before he got home. This was my 11th year in the Vermont Senate, and each year several senators and the governor have introduced a bill that would give veterans total exemption on their retirement pay from Vermont state income tax. Unfortunately, those bills were not taken up until this year, and it was not until a committee of conference finally took it up, and it's a step in the right direction that this bill that the governor will sign today becomes law. Giving our vets income tax exemption is simply the right thing to do. It's a way of saying thank you for your service, but it's also, as the governor mentioned, an economic tool. The bill, which is retroactive, by the way, to January of 2025, will allow you to take the exemption when you do your taxes this year, and will hopefully allow vets to stay in Vermont who might otherwise move out, and will also act as a reason to attract other veterans to the state to consider moving here and becoming Vermonters. So on behalf of the entire Vermont Senate, and the bill was voted out unanimously, I thank you for your service and hope we can extend this to the full exemption soon. I'd now like to call up a gentleman who's so popular we named a town and a county after him, Tom Chittenden.
I'm here to talk about the military benefits retirement exemption in this bill. There's a lot other important tax benefits that are included in this bill, but I'm going to focus on that because of how important it is and how glad I am it finally got covered. I also want to say, Governor, I think we need to add an air conditioner for this office in the budget next year. It's a little warm in here. All right. So when you serve in the U.S. military, you cannot join a union, you cannot negotiate for improved working conditions, and you cannot just up and quit if you had a bad week or a rough night. You do what the government tells you to do, and you put your life on the line in service to this nation. You sacrifice holidays with the kids, you are deployed to all corners of the world, and often need to step into the most challenging of arenas. Military professionals take on a different kind of job, and that job demands our respect in both our words and our tax policy. I am proud of this legislature for taking an important step in that direction with this bill, S51. I applaud all the good work advocating for this legislation by the National Guard Caucus and for the leadership by Governor Scott and his team for championing this in his introduced budget. And I applaud our legislative leadership for making this happen, but most of all, I want to use this time to just thank everyone who serves or has served in the U.S. military protecting this great nation. Thank you, Governor. I'm going to now call Representative Canfield up to the microphone.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Governor Scott and the House Republican Caucus leadership for allowing me to speak here today. I have to mention the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. They will be a huge benefit by putting money in the pockets of our Vermont families with younger children and our hardworking Vermonters. Now to the military retirement. Military retirement income tax and survivor benefits tax exemption. This year we had 4 main sponsors in the House for this tax exemption bill. These 4 are Representative Canfield, Hengo, M. Morgan, and Morrissey. The other 3 lead sponsors of this bill got busy in January and garnered 75 co-sponsors from the 150-member House. As time went on this year, the miscellaneous tax bill was divided into different sections, and those sections became parts of different bills. Enter S51. This is where the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and the military retirement and survivor benefit tax exemption all landed together. House leadership, combined with the entire Committee of Conference, through collaboration and compromise, allowed for the S51 final version that Governor Scott will soon sign here today into law. Speaking for the House Republican Caucus, we want to thank Governor Scott for his leadership, which provided momentum by including military retirement and survivor benefit tax exemption with funding in his 2025 budget address. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to turn it over to Representative Charles Kimball.
Thank you. I'm pleased to represent the Committee on Ways and Means, the Vermont House of Representatives, as H51 is signed into law by Governor Scott. So as legislators, we work to ensure that the tax system works for all Vermonters, to equalize the public burdens, and that the tax system reflects the priorities of the people of the state. Tax credits are an important part of that system, and this bill, S51, is an important revision to our body of tax credits. These are statutory provisions that reduce the amount of revenue that would otherwise be collected to encourage a particular activity or limit the amount of taxes collected from certain persons. So who are these certain persons we're benefiting? Well, they are low-income households without children, often living paycheck to paycheck, who continue to be taxed even when they are at or below the poverty line. They are households with children who have the highest household expenses in their lives and the lowest household income. They are seniors with low and moderate incomes who are impacted significantly from rising prices. and they are military retirees who have served our state and our country in uniform. They are military retiree survivors who continue to live in Vermont and be active members of our communities. And lastly, they are those veterans who are struggling to make ends meet, individuals who don't often get the recognition or respect that they have earned. So what does the bill do? First, it increases the refundable earned income tax credit for tax filers without children to 100% of the federal amount, raising the maximum benefit from $247 to $649. We estimate that there are 12,000 tax filers who will file claims for the earned income tax credit without children, and it adds $3 million to the existing tax expenditures. Second, S51 increases the child tax credit by increasing the age of qualified children from age 5 to age 6. Approximately 27,000 children are claimed under the child tax credit. This refundable credit of $1,000 per child may increase the number of claims by 18.5%. The fiscal impact is about $4.5 million. Third, S51 raises the income threshold to exempt Social Security benefits and certain federal retirement income when the tax filer's adjusted gross income is less than $55,000 for individual tax filers or $70,000 for joint filers, and then it phases out over the next $10,000. This is estimated to add an additional $2.1 million in foregone revenue. Fourth, S51 reframes and expands the tax exemption for military retirement pay and survivors' benefits and allows tax filers to exempt 100% of the military retirement pay up to, if they have adjusted gross income below $125,000, and then phases out to zero at $175,000, regardless of filing status. It removes the $10,000 limitation in the existing system and allows filers to also claim the exemption for Social Security income subject to those thresholds. The exemption for military retirement pay applies to all 8 uniformed services. Military retirees qualify for retirement benefits by serving in the uniformed services for 20 years, with some exceptions. Many are in their 40s and start second civilian careers. There are about 3,900 military retirees in Vermont. S51 also exempts military retiree survivor benefits. As of 2022, there are 751 survivors receiving survivor benefits, a result of a military retiree having purchased a survivor benefit for a spouse or a dependent as a continuous lifetime annuity. In 2022, there are $8.9 million in benefits paid, or an average of $11,800. The total fiscal impact of this exemption for military retirement pay and survivor benefits is $2.5 million. And lastly, S51 establishes the Vermont Veteran Tax Credit, providing a $250 refundable credit to all veterans with adjusted gross income below $25,000. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that there are 34,000 veterans in Vermont. According to the Veterans Administration, 15% of veteran households have adjusted gross income at or below $25,000, or 5,200 veterans. The fiscal impact of this is $1.4 million. In total, these tax credits and exemptions add up to $13.5 million per year in foregone revenue. It reflects the values of the state and the people of Vermont to provide help to those who need it and to provide respect and honor to those who have served us. This bill passed the House on a roll call vote of 142 to 2. Pretty overwhelming. I'll now turn it over to Master Sergeant Christopher Cunningham.
Retired. Thank you, sir. People of the House, thank you for letting me come and talk to you guys here today. I joined the Army in 1998 out of Whitingham, Vermont. I served for 22 and a half years. Majority of my time's been in combat or training for combat. The Army gave me an opportunity where I could come back to the University of Vermont and teach for my last tour in the Army, and I took it because I wanted my kids to be around, their cousins and be around my brothers and sisters again. It wasn't just me from my family that joined the Army. My older brothers, my younger brother, my brother-in-law Sam, we've all served in the Army. 3 of us are retired. So this will affect them too, which is awesome, and their families, which is really great. When you get out of the Army kind of, when you transition out, they tell you the best states to retire in. And Vermont ranked 49 out of 50. So they're like, why are you going to Vermont? I'm like, that's where my family is. I want my kids to grow up here. I'm going to eat whatever I have to do so my kids can grow up in Vermont like me. So I appreciate you coming together on this and making this happen for me and my family, my brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters in arms. And thank you so much. It's a good start, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'll be followed. Thank you. I'll be followed by June Heston.
You still seem like a master sergeant.
It's an honor to be asked to be here today to speak on behalf of military survivors. Throughout our history, Vermont has been a leader in treating all people with respect and dignity, the respect and dignity they deserve. And today, Vermont is added to the list of states that honor the service and sacrifice of our military retirees and survivors. I'm the surviving spouse of Brigadier General Michael Heston. Many of you knew him from the time he served as the Deputy Adjutant General for the Vermont National Guard. For his entire career, both as a Vermont State Trooper and in the National Guard, Mike advocated for those who served and their families. And I'm confident he's very proud today of all those responsible for making this bill a priority. I'm fortunate that Mike chose to opt into the Survivor Benefit Plan, SBP, which means he contributed a portion of his income every month, every paycheck, to ensure I would receive this benefit if he predeceased me. SBP provides 55% of the pension earned by the service member to the surviving spouse or dependents. The reason this is so important to me is I left my job to be a caretaker while Mike was going through treatment for pancreatic cancer. And my story is very, very similar to many others. And for many survivors, a two-income family then becomes a household of 55% of one pension. We now know that toxic exposure of our veterans will result in more illnesses and more death. And this exemption will give a little lift for those who need it most. For some, it may be assistance for after-school care for survivors who have young children, and for others, maybe a car payment. The impact of this will make a difference for many. I understand one of the hurdles for this bill was the consideration of regarding others who serve in other ways. And I'd like to repeat something that I said in my testimony for this bill as just one perspective. Mike was a trooper and a soldier. As a soldier, there were many days and months without seeing his family. He deployed for 7 months, 15 months, and 12 months, respectively, to Afghanistan. He missed many birthdays and holidays. He did not see his son learn how to ride a bike or his daughter's freshman year of high school. Military service is a different kind of sacrifice for the service member and the family. I want to thank all of those who were instrumental in this effort, particularly the Vermont National Guard and Veterans Affairs Caucus, and the governor, who has been pushing for this for a long time, the Adjutant General, Major General Knight, the Deputy Adjutant General, Brigadier General Hank Harder, and I'm proud to be among all of you today as we recognize our service members and their families for their sacrifice.
If you want to come around this way.
If anyone else wants to go up, feel free.
would deserve this pen, but I think I'm going to give it to Bill Canfield, because I believe Bill Canfield has been pushing this bill longer than I have.
Awesome.
Thank you. So with that, I'd be happy to take some on-topic questions.
Governor, want to move back to the podium just so the microphones can pick it up.
Stay right up there, Jed, and answer all the questions.
I'll be your wingman.
And we'll take on topic here, and then if there are follow-ups off topic, we can take those after.
Governor, the bill also mentions tax breaks for people without ID numbers. And I wondered what group of Vermonters is that trying to reach?
I'm not sure of that provision. I think we just expanded the existing tax exemptions now, so I don't know. Like who would you?
Well, it says people without taxpayer ID numbers, and I just wasn't sure who that was referring to. It was in the original 483.
Okay, Rebecca. Yes. Maybe you can help us answer that question.
Sure. Thanks very much, Rebecca Samaroff, Deputy Tax Commissioner. And the governor is right. Our refundable tax credits, based on legislation in prior years, are available to filers who file with tax identification numbers, so don't have a formal social security number, but have gone through another process with the IRS to have a filing number. And we also make them available for folks that are still in that process or don't have ITINs or social security numbers. There was some just clarifying conforming language in this bill that clarified that was the case for all these refundable tax credits, and that's still the case.
This has been going on, you're saying, or is this a new thing?
It is new as of tax year 2024, so this will be, it's relatively new and continuing. Yeah.
Governor, you said that in your opening remarks that this is not a partisan issue, but this has been batted around the legislature, as you mentioned, for years and years. Do you see a direct connection to last November's election because of this?
I think it certainly helped get this across the finish line. Again, I just want to extend my gratitude for those on both sides of the aisle for pushing this forward now. Again, we've been trying to do this for 9 years now in my administration. And to see it get through and finally get taken up, I think it always had the support of the vast majority of legislators. But there were some speed bumps in the way of making that happen. So again, I'd rather just celebrate on what we did this year and not what we did in previous years. And I'm just appreciative of that.
So what changed?
Well, again, I think that there was a movement, more members. When you have a bill that's sponsored by the majority of the House in the many caucuses that got together to make sure that there were enough names on the bill, the path is clear. Like, it just makes no sense that it's not taken up for consideration. So again, I give great credit to those legislators who pushed forward with this. It was them that got it to the point where I could sign it today, and just very appreciative of that. Maybe Lisa, do you want to talk about the caucus a bit?
Sure.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Governor. The Vermont National Guard and Veterans Affairs Caucus is a tripartisan caucus. Our leadership is myself, I'm a Republican, Representative Laura Sibilia, who was really the first founding member, who's an independent, and also Representative Mary Catherine Stone, who is a Democrat, but she stepped in after Representative Matt Byrong, who is also a Democrat, stepped back because he assumed chairman chairmanship of the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee, and he, Laura, and myself were co-founding members of the caucus. We decided to start the caucus after an interaction with Major General Knight when we were visiting the National Guard facilities. And he noted that he's in a very unique situation because Vermont is the only state that currently elects their adjutant general. Everybody else in the United States appoints their adjutant general. The governor appoints them. And he thought it would be a great idea to have better access to the legislature since we are the ones who essentially hire him. So with that, we asked other legislators to become members of the caucus, and from there, it really took off. We started our first meetings on Zoom because it was in 2020 during the pandemic, and we didn't meet in person until 2021 when we came back to the building, which was probably in February or March of that year when everybody was back. Our mission is basically to be a clearinghouse of information for legislators, the general public, our constituents, and the various branches of government and the National Guard, to get the National Guard story out and also to talk about veterans and their needs. So thank you for the opportunity.
Anybody else? Jed, you were instrumental being an independent.
Governor, thank you. And for all of Vermonters, thank you for getting this to today's signature. And I am an independent, and I was active with the National Guard and Veteran Affairs Caucus. I want to thank Representative Sibilia, Representative Hango specifically for trying to guide me about why this bill never could get off a wall. We come to the end of the year, so with their counsel, I did propose an amendment, a strike-all amendment, to exempt all the military retirees taxation on their benefits as well as the survivors' benefits, and got it on the notice calendar, and then magically the whole bill and my amendment disappeared. So for the next 6 weeks, because I didn't understand the workings of party politics, I would go to the speaker and I would go to the chairman of Ways and Means and say, Vermonters really would like an opportunity to testify. And there are many here, General Harder, Master Sergeant Cunningham, who eventually were invited, myself, to testify on the uniqueness of military service as well as the nature of the sacrifice. So I was honored and challenged to finally, and I'd have to say that collective testimony, Master Sergeant and others, made a huge difference, and that with some very important tweaks that was actually expansive, it got the bill out of House Ways and Means. Instead of being stuck on the wall, it passed out 11-0 in favor, which was a great day. Then it went to the House. It passed out of the House, 142-2. So that was another great day, Governor. Then it stuck around in the Senate for a while and eventually made it out. So I'll leave it at that. The bipartisan, the support I got from other senators, obviously from General Knight and the Guard and the National Guard caucus, was incredibly meaningful, and I'm very happy. I left the north coast of Maine at 5:32 this morning. Stopped by, picked some clean clothes up, and I'm happy to be here. So congratulations, Governor.
I'd like to hear from Major Knight, if possible, just how can this be used as a recruiting tool, going forward, talking to young people?
He's been recruiting all the time he's been here.
Multiple times. How can this be used as a recruiting tool for you going forward?
You haven't called me. So this is First, thanks, Governor, thank you for your leadership. Thanks to my legislative caucus and the members of the legislature to get this done. Spirit of compromise, I learned that a long time ago. To recruiting, and I testified down here, I think, 6 different times this session on this very topic. What's important is exactly what you're talking about. Recruiting, there's a huge prior service market out there. These are folks that are coming off of active duty from any branch of service after their first term. Now I've got another tool that we can use to specifically target that audience and bring them here to Vermont, grow our talent, keep the talent we have. So just a tremendous opportunity for us. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Mr. Governor, do you mind if I add something? Senate Majority Leader Keisha Rum Hinsdale, and I don't want this to go unsaid in terms of why this year instead of past years. I've kind of staked my career on talking about how much representation matters. And in my years in the legislature, having served on House, General Housing, and Military Affairs at the time to now, I haven't seen this many veterans serving in the legislature. I sit on Senate Education with 3 veterans, Senator Terry Williams, Senator David Weeks, and Steve Heffernan is retired Guard. The Democratic caucus now has Senator Joe Major, who is a veteran. It really matters to have the voices of people who have served. I've often carried the banner as the granddaughter of a World War II veteran. But we are losing our service members in the public arena. We have fewer and fewer people who feel close to military service and are making that sacrifice. And it's really important we continue to hear and honor those voices. And I think that was one more area that helped us get this bill over the finish line this year.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your work on this bill as well as the housing bill as well. We appreciate it. Any other questions on topic? Senator Chittenden, this is why we turn the heat up. All right. The rest of you are dismissed unless you want to stay and answer some other questions.
You bet.
Absolutely. Hey, you're beautiful. Yeah.
Can't stop sweating.
I'm not playing golf, but I'm coming down. You are? Yep.
Thank you. Have a great summer. I hope I see you again.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Lisa, I'll see you next month.
Yeah, you will. I'll be riding the golf.
I don't, but I'm thinking about riding around and I can do
Oh, not them.
Huh?
The Jays.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hey, nice job. Off the cuff. So you have that before? There's more.
Well, I got to answer some other questions.
The big difference
Well, I think it's trying to find
Hopefully it benefits more.
Sorry, we're
That's all right. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. I didn't see you there. So would have called you up.
Thank you for working on this for so long.
We've worked on it for a long time.
Governor, I've gone over the Maine coast, pulled the road bikes out of the back of my car and said Alice will be back in 12 hours.
There you go.
This was really, and obviously your encouragement throughout February, and March, and April.
It took some leadership within the legislature. Again.
Jason said you wanted to get me for 30 seconds about the election bill.
Yeah, I got to take these. Can you stick around for like 5-10 minutes? I'll ask you.
Friends, fellow Americans, the government is going to take the order off of public questions. Anything else, just quiet, please.
Bill that sets price caps on outpatient services to try to sort of rein in the cost of healthcare. There's concern among some, especially cancer care, specialty care, infusion centers, that this could lead to a rise in people paying out of pocket and maybe foregoing care or not getting the health care they need. What do you make of those concerns?
Well, again, we're going to have to work our way through this. The Green Mountain Care Board is the entity that brought this forward, and we want to make sure that we know that healthcare costs are a great concern to everyone. So, again, we want to make sure that we're taking care of the people who need to be taken care of, and that they have the means to do so. So, this is just one small step, and it's going to be a much larger conversation in this next biennium, the second half of the biennium, as well as further into the future about what we do about healthcare costs. But part of the answer there is just what we're talking about today, making Vermont more affordable so we can attract more people into the state. With our aging demographics, you've heard the statistics before, but we have more over the age of 65 now than at any time in our history. So we need more youth here, younger, healthier youth to support our workforce and also help with healthcare costs as well, just to redistribute that.
You had mentioned this session that your team was focused on education reform, I believe CHIP and housing and whatnot, and that healthcare issues would have to be tackled directly next session. I hear what you're saying about getting at the underlying demographics. Are you and your team talking or thinking about any specific bills or policies that can help with our fragile healthcare system? I mean, we're hearing that some hospital budgets could be closing or hospitals could close in the coming years.
Right. We're working with all the entities, and that includes the congressional delegation as well. Drug costs are a major driver of the healthcare costs dilemma that we find ourselves in. So we're working with the congressional delegation. I know this is one area where it seems like Senator Sanders and President Trump may be on the same page. So it'll be interesting to see what they do on the federal level.
Expect any more vetoes? Are we kind of done?
Well, I still have a couple bills to get through, so you never know.
Just wondering, what do you think of the decision to drop the MOPS bombs on the Iranian nuclear sites?
Yeah, I don't know as I'm qualified to give an opinion on that. I don't have all the details, but I do know that I don't think Iran should have nuclear capabilities. And so I think the decision was made at a much higher level with a lot of information. And if this makes the world safer, then I'm all for it. if this draws us into another conflict in the Middle East, then that wouldn't be good for any of us. So again, we'll see how this plays out, but again, I'm happy to hear that this fragile ceasefire is holding, and I say fragile with an exclamation point. But we'll see, because we need peace in this world, and we need to focus on areas in this country where we can have again a more affordable country, more affordable state, and we need to work together better than we have before.
Plan on signing the education reform bill when it arrives on your desk?
Yes.
What are the next steps here? What's that work going to look like this summer?
It's almost immediate. I mean, we're starting to work on that now. We have some appointments to make. We have to hire a facilitator. There's all kinds of things we have to do. Focus on drawing the lines. That will be important, amongst other things that we have to get accomplished and ready for the next session. So this is, again, education reform isn't a flip of the switch. This is going to take years to transition to where we need to go. And it's unfortunate. Again, I go back to our demographics. This is forcing all of these issues, these crises we face, whether it's healthcare, whether it's affordability, whether it's education. When you have fewer students and it's costing so much more than ever before, and we're not getting the results that we should, then we have to do something. And I'm very thankful that the legislature took the steps forward together with us to make this happen.
What's your confidence level, or what assurances can you give the taxpayers that this work will actually get done? As you mentioned, it's a framework. It's going to happen over multiple legislatures, multiple election cycles, maybe even multiple governors. Who knows? Yeah. But what assurances can you give?
I can only assure them that we will be working night and day to get this off the ground and move it in the right direction. This next session will be critical, I believe. Setting those district lines is going to be critical, and putting a lot of these measures into place will be difficult, and but we can't let up now. When I first came into office, I remember talking about, we were educating 86,000 kids, I think, and it was costing us $1.6 billion. Today it's $2.3 billion, and we're educating fewer kids. So something's got to give, and I'm again thankful to the legislature for working with us to make this happen. But we'll have another press conference probably on that.
By July 1, Brenda Siegel says 384 households will be out on the street. Any plans to either extend or modify or do something for homeless Vermonters after July 1?
Yeah, I mean, there's still going to be people within the General Assistance Program. We're just going back to what the legislature passed a year ago, and we're implementing that.
So you don't plan on modifying the executive order?
Not at this time. Thank you all.